At 2 a.m., still sitting in my car after a 14-hour shift, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it. Until I saw the group chat name, Family Decisions. My name was the only one not in the title. You know that kind of anger where your hands are shaking but you're smiling? Where you're so mad you actually start laughing because if you don't laugh you're going to drive your car through somebody's living room. That was me. 2 in the morning, sitting in a warehouse parking lot in Columbus, Ohio, still in my work boots, smelling like cardboard and sweat after 14 hours on my feet, and my phone lights up with a screenshot from my cousin Talia. A group chat. Called Family Decisions. And guess whose name wasn't in it? Why? But guess whose money was already spent on a vacation spot in that chat? Also mine. I'm Jolene. I'm 24. And about 6 minutes before that screenshot came in, I was just tired. Regular tired. The kind of tired where you sit in your car for 20 minutes before you can even turn the key because your body just doesn't want to cooperate. But after I read that message, I wasn't tired anymore. I was awake. I was so awake I could have run through a wall. Let me tell you what the message said. My mother, her name is Lorraine, and believe me, you're going to have opinions about her, wrote this in that group chat to my dad, my older brother Craig, and my Aunt Deborah. We've decided to give Jolene's spot to Deborah's daughter. It just makes more sense for the family. That's a direct quote. It just makes more sense for the family. I paid $1,200 for that vacation spot. $1,200 that I earned packing boxes until my back screamed. And she gave it away in a text message I wasn't even supposed to see. You want to know the funniest part? I wasn't even surprised. And honestly, that made me angrier than the message itself. Because when your own mother does something this cold and your first reaction is, yeah, that sounds about right, that tells you everything about what kind of childhood you had. My parents kicked me out when I was 17. Not because I was doing anything wrong. Not drugs, not bad grades, not sneaking out. I graduated high school a semester early, actually. No, they kicked me out because my dad, Richard, got it into his head that once you're old enough to argue back, you're old enough to leave. And I argued back. I've always argued back. I know some of you are probably thinking, well, what did you say to them? And honestly, I don't even remember what the original fight was about. Something about me not wanting to go to the church my mom picked. Something small. Something that in a normal family would have ended with a slammed door and silence at dinner. But in my family, it ended with my dad dropping a garbage bag of my clothes on the front porch and changing the locks while I was at my friend Harper's house. 17. With a garbage bag. In February. Do you think that's something a person just gets over? Because I'll be honest with you, I tried. I really tried. The only person who helped me was my grandma Ruth. My dad's mother, if you can believe that. She lived about 40 minutes outside the city in this tiny house with a garden she talked to like the tomatoes could hear her. And when I showed up on her porch that night, shaking, crying, holding a garbage bag like some kind of runaway, she didn't ask me a single question. She just opened the door, made me cheese toast and said, "You'll stay here as long as you need to, baby." No lecture. No, what did you do? Just cheese toast and a warm bed. Grandma Ruth is the reason I'm still standing. I need you to remember that because she's going to come up again later in this story, and when she does, I need you to already love her the way I do. So I lived with Grandma Ruth for almost 2 years. Finished high school from her couch, got my diploma, started working at a grocery store, then a gas station, then a restaurant, then the warehouse where I work now. I moved into my own apartment when I was 19. A 1-bedroom on the east side of Columbus that smells a little weird when it rains, but it's mine. I pay my rent. I pay my bills. I buy my own groceries. And I did all of that without a single dollar from Lorraine and Richard. Now here's where it gets interesting, and honestly a little pathetic on my part, so don't judge me too hard. About a year and a half ago my mom started reaching out. Little texts here and there. Thinking of you. Saw this and thought of you. You know the type. Breadcrumbs. And I fell for it because no matter how angry you are at your mother, there's this stupid little voice inside you that just wants her to love you. Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. So we started talking again. Awkward at first. Then a little more regular. She invited me to Thanksgiving. I went. It was uncomfortable. Craig barely looked at me. My dad shook my hand like I was a stranger at a business meeting. But my mom hugged me and I thought, maybe this is the beginning of something. Then she brought up the family vacation. A beach trip. Gulf Shores, Alabama. The whole family was going. My parents, Craig and his wife Noelle, Aunt Deborah and her daughter Skylar, and me. My mom said, "We'd love for you to come, Jolene. It would mean so much." And like an idiot I said yes. I said yes and I transferred $1,200, $600 for the rental house and $600 for activities and food, directly to my mother's account. $1,200. That's almost a full month of rent for me. I had to pick up extra shifts for 2 months to save that money. 2 months of waking up at 4 a.m. and not getting home until after midnight. And she just gave my spot away. In a group chat. Without even telling me. Talia, bless that girl. Screenshotted it the second she saw it and sent it to me. Talia's not even technically part of the trip. She's my Uncle Frank's daughter, lives in Indianapolis, and she was added to the group chat by accident when Aunt Deborah made it. But she stayed in it, quiet, reading everything because Talia is smart like that. She sees everything and says nothing until it matters. And that night it mattered. So there I am. Parking lot. 2 in the morning. Reading this screenshot over and over like the words are going to rearrange themselves into something that doesn't make me want to scream. And I did what you're probably thinking I should not have done. I drove to my parents' house. At 2 a.m. Still in my work boots. Still shaking. And I'll tell you right now, what happened when I got there is something I will never forget as long as I live. My mother opened that door in her bathrobe and the look on her face when she saw me standing there. She knew. She already knew. But what she said to me and what I said back. Honestly, I still can't believe those words came out of my mouth. I surprised myself. And what happened over the next few days after that? Changed everything. My whole life shifted. And not in the way you'd expect. I'm going to tell you exactly what went down. Every single word. But I need you to stick with me because this story goes places I didn't see coming, and I think you won't see them coming either. Some of you are probably already mad on my behalf and honestly, thank you. Because I needed that energy back then and I didn't have it. So if you're feeling something right now, good. Hold on to that. You're going to need it. So I'm standing on my parents' porch at 2 in the morning and I'm knocking. Not politely. I'm banging on that door like I'm the police. And for a second I thought, what am I doing? I've got work again in 9 hours. I'm exhausted. I smell like a warehouse. This is insane. But then I thought about those $1,200. $1,200 I could have spent on new tires for my car, which by the way makes a sound every time I turn left that no car should ever make. And suddenly I wasn't tired anymore. My mom opened the door. Bathrobe, hair in a scarf, reading glasses pushed up on her forehead like she'd been up watching something on her tablet. She looked at me and I swear, her face did this thing where it went from confused to scared to annoyed in about 3 seconds flat. Like a slot machine of emotions. And the first thing out of her mouth wasn't, "Are you okay?" It wasn't what happened. It was, "Jolene, it is 2 in the morning. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with me?" You hear that? Not, "Why are you upset?" Not, "Come inside." Just, "What is wrong with you?" Like I was the problem. Like I've always been the problem. I held up my phone with the screenshot and said, "You want to explain this?" And she did this little sigh, you know the kind. That sigh mothers do when they want you to feel like you're being dramatic. That sigh that makes your blood pressure go up about 40 points. And she said, "Come inside. You're going to wake the neighbors." So I went inside. And there's my dad, Richard, standing in the hallway in his pajama pants and a t-shirt, arms crossed, looking at me like I just broke into his house. He goes, "What's going on?" And my mom says, "Get this, Jolene's upset about the vacation thing." The vacation thing. Like it's nothing. Like $1,200 is pocket change to someone who packs boxes for a living. I said, "Yeah, I'm upset about the vacation thing because I paid for a spot that you gave away without even asking me." And my dad, this man who hasn't called me on my birthday in 3 years, who kicked me out as a teenager with a garbage bag, he says, "We were going to tell you. We just hadn't gotten around to it yet." Hadn't gotten around to it. Like it's a chore. Like calling your daughter to tell her you stole $1,200 from her is somewhere on the to-do list between getting an oil change and picking up milk. I looked at my mom and said, "So were you going to give me my money back?" And the silence in that hallway, I wish you could have heard it. It was loud. That kind of silence that answers your question before anyone opens their mouth. My mom finally said, "Well, the rental is non-refundable, so..." And just trailed off. Just let it hang there. Like that was supposed to be a full sentence. Like, non-refundable was the magic word that made everything okay. And here's where I did something that I'm honestly still proud of, even though part of me thinks I might have been a little unhinged. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, turned the screen toward both of them and said, "You see this? That's my checking account. That number right there. That's what I have left after giving you $1,200. Does that look like someone who can just shrug this off?" My dad actually looked. I saw his eyes move to the screen. And for a split second, just a split second, something flickered in his face. I don't know if it was guilt or surprise or what, but it was there. And then it was gone because he straightened up and said, "You're an adult, Jolene. You need to manage your finances better." Do you understand what he just said to me? I need to manage my finances better. The man who kicked me out at 17 with nothing, literally nothing, is giving me financial advice while standing in a 4-bedroom house with 2 cars in the driveway. Can you even imagine hearing that? Because I lived it and I'm still not sure I believe it actually happened. That's when Craig came downstairs. My older brother. 28 years old, never been kicked out of anything, had his college paid for, drives a truck that our dad co-signed on. He comes down the stairs with his phone in his hand and goes, "Can you all keep it down?" Noelle's trying to sleep. Not, "Hey, what's going on, are you okay, sis?" Just, "Keep it down." Noelle's trying to sleep. In my parents' guest bedroom. In the house I got kicked out of. I looked at all three of them standing there and I had this moment of absolute clarity. You know those moments where everything suddenly makes sense? Where the fog clears and you see exactly what's been happening your whole life. That was it for me. I was never part of this family. Not really. I was an add-on. An afterthought. The one they tolerated when it was convenient and discarded when it wasn't. So I said something I'd been holding inside for 7 years. I said, "You owe me $1,200 and I want it back. Not next month. Not when it's convenient. I want it transferred to my account by Friday or I'm done." And I don't mean done like last time where I disappeared and you got to pretend I didn't exist. I mean done in a way where you will feel it. My mom actually laughed. Not a big laugh. A little one. A dismissive one. The worst kind. And she said, "Jolene, stop being dramatic." I walked out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it quietly, which honestly felt more powerful than slamming it ever could have. And I drove home, sat on my kitchen floor because I don't have a couch. Yeah, I don't have a couch, that's the kind of budget I'm working with, and I called Talia. Talia picked up on the second ring even though it was almost 3 a.m. by then. And I told her everything. Every word. And Talia, bless her, she just listened. And when I was done she said, "Joe, you know what your problem is? You keep going back to a door that was never open for you in the first place." And that hit me so hard I couldn't even respond for a minute. But then she said something else. She said, "You know that warehouse isn't the only place that would hire you, right? My friend Dominic works at a logistics company in Dublin. That's Dublin, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus. And they've been looking for someone with distribution experience. The pay is almost double what you make now and they actually treat people like humans." And normally I would have said no. I would have made some excuse about how I can't take risks right now, how I need stability, how I can't afford to mess up what I've got. But sitting on that kitchen floor at 3 a.m., with $0 worth of respect from my family and a checking account that made my father smirk, I said, "Give me Dominic's number." That was a Tuesday night. By Thursday afternoon I had a phone interview. By the following Monday I had an in-person interview. And by Wednesday, 8 days after my mother laughed at me in that hallway, I had a job offer. $22 an hour. Benefits. Monday through Friday, no weekends. No more 14-hour shifts. No more smelling like cardboard at 2 a.m. I sat in my car, the same car, the one that makes the noise when I turn left, and I cried again. But this time it was a different kind of crying. The good kind. The kind where your body is just releasing everything it's been holding, and for the first time in years, you feel like maybe, just maybe, things are about to change. And here's the thing, they did change. Fast. Faster than I expected. Because once I started that new job, something shifted inside me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was actually living. I had weekends off. I went to Grandma Ruth's on Saturdays and helped her in the garden. I started cooking real meals instead of eating gas station sandwiches in my car. I even bought a couch. A real one. From an actual furniture store. Nothing fancy, it was on clearance. But it was mine, and the first time I sat on it I felt like a queen. And you know what I didn't do during all of this? I didn't call my parents. Not once. I didn't text them. I didn't show up to Sunday dinner. I just vanished. And for the first 3 weeks, you know what happened? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No calls. No texts. No, "Where are you?" Nothing. 3 weeks, and my own mother didn't even notice I was gone. But then, and I need you to pay attention here because this is where the whole thing starts to flip. Something happened that I wasn't expecting. My brother Craig texted me. Out of nowhere. And it wasn't some heartfelt message or an apology. It was, "Hey, Mom's been in a mood. She's not sleeping. Dad's stressed about something at work. Just thought you should know. Just thought I should know. Like I'm supposed to care. Like I'm supposed to come running back and fix whatever mess they created for themselves." I didn't respond. And I know some of you might think that's cold, but honestly, it felt necessary. For the first time in my life I was choosing myself. And it felt terrifying and amazing and wrong and right all at the same time. But Craig didn't stop there. A few days later, another text, "Mom asked about you at dinner." She looked upset. Then a week after that, "Dad's been quiet." Not his normal quiet. A different quiet. And I kept not responding. I just let it sit. Let them feel what it's like when someone disappears from your life and you don't get to control the narrative. Because that's what they did to me at 17. They made me disappear. And now I was doing it on my own terms. Meanwhile, my new job was going great. My manager, this woman named Phyllis, pulled me aside after my second week and said, "You're one of the hardest workers I've ever seen, and I've been here 11 years. And I almost cried right there in her office because nobody in my entire life except Grandma Ruth, had ever told me I was good at something without it being followed by a but. The money started adding up. Not rich money. Not vacation money. But breathing room money. The kind where you're not checking your bank account before you buy groceries. The kind where you can fill up your gas tank all the way instead of just putting in $20 and hoping it lasts. And that's when Talia called me with some very interesting news. She said, "Joe, I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but your parents are having money problems." Turns out my dad's job had done some restructuring. He didn't get fired, but his hours got cut significantly. And my mom, who works part-time at a dental office, wasn't bringing in enough to cover everything. Talia heard it through Aunt Deborah, who apparently heard my mom crying about it on the phone. Now, do you think I felt bad? Honestly, a small part of me did. A tiny, stupid, stubborn little part that still loved those people despite everything. But a much bigger part of me, the part that remembered that garbage bag on the porch, the part that remembered sitting on a kitchen floor with nothing, the part that remembered my mother's little laugh, that part felt something else entirely. And what I decided to do next. I know some of you are going to agree with me and some of you are going to think I went too far. But I need you to hear the whole thing before you decide. Because what was about to happen between me and my parents, it's the kind of thing you can't take back. And honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to take it back. I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. And I need to warn you, my mother's reaction? You're not ready for it. I wasn't ready for it and I was standing right there. So here's what I did. Keep everything they've done to me in your pocket while I tell you this. I waited. Doesn't sound dramatic, but the waiting was the weapon. Every day I didn't call back. Every day Craig's texts sat unanswered. It was doing something to them. Talia kept me updated like a field reporter. Your mom brought you up at Deborah's. Your dad asked Uncle Frank about you. Craig thinks you changed your number. I didn't change my number. I just stopped answering. And that difference was eating them alive. 6 weeks in, Grandma Ruth called me while I was helping her stake tomatoes. "Baby, your father came to see me yesterday." I nearly dropped the steak. Richard does not visit Grandma Ruth. He calls on Mother's Day and Christmas. That's it. So him driving 40 minutes to her house meant something was cracking. She said he sat at her table for an hour, barely talked, drank his coffee, stared out the window. Then right before leaving he said, "Mom, I think I messed up with Jolene." And Grandma Ruth said, "Richard, you didn't mess up. You chose wrong. A mess is an accident. What you did was on purpose." Can we take a moment for that woman? Holding this family together with cheese toast and the truth since day one. A week later my mom texted me directly. "Jolene, can we talk? I know I haven't handled things well." Hasn't handled things well. That's what you say when you burn dinner, Lorraine, not when you throw out your daughter and take her money. I let it sit 2 days. She sent another, "I understand if you're angry. I would be too." Third day I replied one line, "You owe me $1,200. We can talk after you send it." Some of you are thinking, it's not about the money. You're right. It never was. The money was the test. If she couldn't return what she literally took from me, no conversation would fix anything. 4 hours later. Bank notification. $1,200 from Lorraine. No message. Just the money. I stared at that notification forever. It wasn't just money. It was the first time my mother did something I asked without arguing. First time she put my needs above her pride. So I called her. Not because I forgave her. Because I had 7 years of things to say. She picked up on the first ring. Already crying. I said, "Don't talk. Just listen." He said yes. I told her everything. The garbage bag at 17. Cereal for dinner for 3 months. Watching Craig get college, a truck holidays while I got nothing. Sleeping in my car before Grandma Ruth took me in. Passing out behind the register at the gas station and nobody calling her because she wasn't my emergency contact. Why would she be? 40 minutes. She didn't interrupt once. Then she said, "I don't deserve you. I'm not asking you to forgive me because I haven't earned it. But I want to earn it." I said, "Be honest with me first." That's when she told me the real reason they kicked me out. It wasn't the church fight. My dad had lost his job back then and they were about to lose the house. They were so buried in shame that when I argued about anything, pushing me out was easier than admitting they were falling apart. She said, "That's not an excuse. But it's the truth. Does it make it okay?" Well, but at least it was real. Things shifted after that. Mom started calling every few days. Not to guilt me. Just to talk. She asked about my job, Grandma Ruth's garden, even my couch. He was trying. My dad was harder. Richard will never say sorry. That word can't leave his mouth. But he showed up at my apartment one Saturday with a toolbox. No warning. I opened the door and he said, "Talia mentioned your car makes a noise when you turn left." Spent 3 hours fixing my suspension. Barely spoke. Finished, wiped his hands, said, "Drives better now." That was his sorry. 3 hours and a rag. And I took it. Because my father says, "I love you," with a wrench, and I've made peace with that. Craig was last. He showed up at Grandma Ruth's with a handwritten letter. 3 pages. Said he spent years telling himself it wasn't his fault because he was 21 and didn't know what to do. But that was a lie so he could sleep. He knew it was wrong. Every year. He was just scared that standing up for me would get him pushed out too. I read it at Grandma Ruth's kitchen table, crying, while she handed me napkins like she'd been preparing for this exact moment for 7 years. I didn't forgive him that day. Forgiveness isn't a light switch. But I told him if he wanted to be my real brother he had to start earning it now. He said okay. So here's where I am. New job, Phyllis recommending me for team lead in September. My apartment, my couch, my car that turns left without a sound. Grandma Ruth and her cheese toast. Talia, who I can never repay for that 2 a.m. screenshot. And my family. Sort of. We're not fixed. We're not hugging while music plays. We're messy and learning. Mom calls every few days. Dad came by twice more. Fixed a leaky faucet, brought his own coffee, which for Richard is basically a marriage proposal. Craig and I text. Mostly memes. Sometimes, thinking about you, Joe. And I believe him now. The Gulf Shores trip? Cancelled. Couldn't afford it after Dad's hours got cut. A small petty part of me thought, good. Not because I want them to suffer. But the universe balances things when people won't. My $1,200 is in savings. Untouched. Maybe a nicer apartment someday. Maybe a trip with just Talia and Grandma Ruth. The people who actually showed up. I'm telling you this because I know some of you are sitting somewhere right now thinking this is all there is. That the people who hurt you get to write your ending. They don't. You do. That's my story. If it meant something to you, I'd love if you hit that like button. And if you would have done anything differently, tell me in the comments. Would you have driven over at 2 a.m.? Would you have called her back? I want to hear it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It means everything.